Welcome everyone to episode 16 of the Global Exclusive Podcast. I'm your host Hazard, and if you don't know who's joining me at this point, there's no hope for you. But without further ado, Bharos.
So, would Lord of the Rings have been different if Frodo put the ring on his dick instead of his finger?
I can't even do this.
You know what? Person intros are cancelled.
Who's next? Cotton?
I mean, it's a good question, though.
No, it's not.
No. I have so many questions for you.
Don't ask any of them.
I'm not going to. All right, Cotton.
From this point onwards, anything that Bharos says needs to be pre-approved by all of us, okay?
That's true. Dream Blitz.
This was a mistake.
Oh, it is.
Muspel.
I wish I could stop knowing what I just heard.
And Shadowwalker.
I hate that I know what Bharos is referring to.
But also, you know, like the one
No.
ring, it would change sizes depending on the user.
Shadow joins Bharos in the penalty zone, okay?
I said I hate it, so don't put me there with him.
I need more social distancing between me and Bharos at this point.
Yeah, like a continent is not
Is
enough.
there a way that we can get 2 oceans between us?
Fly to Australia, you'll be happy.
Speaking
Although
of
Australia isn't far enough.
speaking
I
of
don't
land
think it is
down
far
under,
enough.
Dream luckily is saving us with this week's sponsor.
Well, this week's sponsor is one of the most ambitious RPGs of 2019, and it's totally free. Currently, almost 10 million users have joined the game. It's got detailed models, environments, and the smooth 60 frames per second animations. All the champions can be customized with unique gear that changes your strategic buffs. It has almost 300,000 reviews and almost a perfect score on the Play Store. What are you waiting for? Please let me stop saying this.
Wow, this sounds like a great game. I really
Yeah.
want to play this game.
Wow,
Yeah.
this game sounds good. But we can't say the name.
If only we knew the name of that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're leaving that as an exercise to the listeners.
Well, if you know the name, please leave it in the comments on the Reddit post.
No.
If you know the
Bharos
name,
and
please
Shadow
directly
are gone.
PM it to Bharos.
Yes,
Sure.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, along with your nudes.
No!
All right, all in
16
favor.
episodes in, that's it.
All in favor of banning Bharos from further podcasts, say aye.
Hi.
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 Motion
Wow,
has
okay,
been
well, at
approved.
least I don't have to get up this early, so it's fine.
All right, this week we've got another set of Esper units. This week it's Mystical Ice Lasswell and Hallowed Aegis Charlotte. We've also got Item World, a special item world where you can not get rares on any items. And we've also got,
Speak for yourself.
finally, a new Chamber of Vengeance battle, which is also bugged. So that's really exciting. We'll talk about all of those today.
Very on brand.
Very on brand. The ghost is so hard to hit that he crashes your game.
Haunts your
I think the
device
ghost
directly.
actually has evade innately, I believe.
Oh, we'll get to that shortly.
Oh yeah. It's me and Muspel's worst nightmare. I think Trag is just Muspel drunk.
It's y'all that are perverts, okay?
Now I'm thinking of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs all going Super Saiyan.
Do you guys hear that? It sounds like whale calls.
We're just gonna remove your entire track from the entire thing.
Depends on what you're into, you know?
No, Bharos!
Muspel actually polled for Charlotte this week, so Muspel, you do the honors on introducing this beloved unit.
So Charlotte is really just another physical tank. She's good. She's not the next step of Powercreep. I pulled for her because I refuse to use evasion tanks. She has 80% mitigation on her LB cover. Most tanks have, it usually is a random range. You have 50 to 70%, and it'll roll either 50, 60, or 70, or some tanks have 60 to 80 on like a cooldown or an unlock or something. Charlotte has guaranteed 80%. So in practice, she's taking half as much damage as other tanks in the worst case scenario, which is what you have to gear around. So for me, because I don't use dodge, that's great. For most people, it doesn't matter. If you need a physical tank and you don't have a good one, pull for her, she's great. If you already have like Galoof or Alphonse or something, you don't need her.
And
I thought you had Alphonse. You don't.
I do, but Charlotte is tankier than Alphonse. But most people would use dodge if the tank is taking a huge beating. I don't. So
You mean Charlotte's a little bit more waifu-ier than Alphonse?
see, one of the things about physical tanks that we need to add is that they're physical tanks, and like recommending to people to pull on physical tanks is it's a bit dangerous because I don't know if you saw, but Sinzar recently posted a list of all the JP trials, and every single one of them you use a single target provoke unit and a magic tank. So it's like, in theory, any person, like unless you have the Muspel or the Hazard Syndrome where you don't want to use a dodge tank for some reason, most people can probably make their Krylas, their
It's called Dignity
Locks,
Shadow.
or Riku's
Have
the
some.
dodge tanks, which makes it much more efficient because you're taking a whole slot away for another unit to do the trial with. So it's like,
Yeah.
I think you're kind of overstating the extent to which that matters. Like if you look at like March of the Insects, for instance, the boss has very low mag and very high attack, so you can use AoE physical cover. He uses both kinds of AoE, and he has AoEs of both types that pierce cover. So yeah, you need Mirage, but which one you use, I don't think it matters a whole lot. To be fair, I would have to take a closer look at the AI. But I think that even though magic cover may be the better option, it's not like you can't use physical cover. It's not just, oh, your physical cover isn't even an option, you're screwed if you try that. It's just a little better to use magic cover usually.
Yeah, I just wonder why we got into this state of the game when it comes to physical cover. I mean, why like I understand that evasion is cheesing, but they could have just left it as cheese and still made trials like decently runnable with physical tanks. But like, okay, I know this is kind of a dumb statement saying, evasion is easier to gear for than physical tankiness, but it kind of is if you have been in the game for a while, so you actually have the evasion items, because still getting the physical bulk to survive some of the really hard-hitting trials, that's really tough.
Also, though, I'm just saying, they've got a perfectly good mechanic available in accuracy, so why not just make more physical AoEs with accuracy?
this is
Yeah,
what
but then
then
they
you
need to
can't
hit a lot
just-
less. Like,
Yeah.
they need to hit not as hard.
Yeah, exactly. So just make
Actors-
ones that you actually do want to physical cover.
In the dawn of the 7-star meta, they kind of solved this by introducing accuracy into the trials, and then they stopped using it after a while and saying, no, everybody needs a magic tank now. So it's like, why did they stop in the middle? That's
I
the
mean,
question.
you guys are kind of overstating how bad the physical damage is. I tank this stuff with physical tanks, and it doesn't hurt that bad.
No. My
you-
point is not that it hurts that bad, but it's also that you're losing a slot if you don't use evasion. Like, trials are much more fun to gear for if your, like, FID is also doing your tanking.
Right. I think they kind of painted themselves into a corner early with the 100% evasion availability being so easy. But as Dream and Shadow said, they have a workaround with it with accuracy, and it's true. Like I've tanked everything with this tank. It is harder. It's definitely harder. It requires more thought. It requires more planning, and it's a little bit more difficult to make a team around. But it's still doable. It's just so easy to do it the other way. It's so mindlessly easy that it's just hard not to do it.
But I actually have a great example of how evasion could have been a nice mechanic, because like a long time ago we got the Aranea trial. She was like part of the Final Fantasy 15 event, I think, right? And she hit pretty hard. Like she had pretty hard hitting physical attacks. And at that point in the game, I really didn't have great gear for physical tanks. And I remember that putting Noctis's TMR on my tank was the difference between surviving and dying. Because like she hit so many times that like you got the average evasion out of every hit anyway. And that was a great way. Like it got me through the trial in a way that got my tank more EHP. But nowadays you can just
Bharos,
go 100%.
With the Aranea trial, I just soloed it with 100% evade Noctis, so...
I did not have 100%
I
evade
think
gear
an
at that
interesting
point.
solution. It's too late to do this now, but if they were starting from scratch, I think what they should have done was made it easier to gear for lots of dodge. But every time you dodge an attack, your dodge goes down by 100% for that turn. So if you have 200% dodge, you can dodge 2 attacks per turn. 300% you dodge 3. and so on.
Yeah, or at least some diminishing return.
Yeah,
type
it would
deal.
be like passive mirage, basically.
I don't know. I kind of feel like if they had capped it at 50% and used it more as Bharos is saying, where it basically improves your effective EHP or your effective hit points, right? And the more times you get hit, right? There's still some RNG based in it, but what they should have done is made the evasion portion, just added it onto gear that was otherwise bulky and good instead of having evasion only type gear and then making it 100%.
Yeah, I mean, so one thing, I am a bit contradicting myself here, because one thing I do think is interesting about evasion is the whole thing where you can build a tank out of another unit, which opens up for really interesting teams. So that is really cool. But
Well, I think that's the major reason why people do it now is because you need a magic tank for most trials and a physical provoke, and you can just throw it on to support.
I mean, talking about magic tanks, like, Charlotte can also be a magic tank because she does have an on-demand magic cover in her kit.
She can. She's not very good at it. The problem is that
Yeah.
nowadays you want a tank to provide 50% general mitigation, and her general mitigation is tied to her LB, which also does physical cover. So, I mean, she can magic tank if you have somebody else do the mitigation, but at that point she's not doing much other than covering magic.
But she can also mitigate if the trial always hits you with magic first, though.
No, because you would not have magic
overrides
cover
the
on the turn
cover.
you use the LB, because the LB would apply physical cover and overwrite her magic cover.
Well, but I thought the mechanics were that you can have both buffs active, but
Right,
then
but not
On different units.
But if she's your magic cover tank,
right?
Her magic cover would get overwritten by her physical cover.
Oh, so you can't have cover buffs on the same unit twice? Because I read the mechanics
Correct.
page and it said something about that there is like a choice mechanic of it always chooses the higher cover and it always chooses the one with the longest
Is it?
duration left. So I thought you could have both,
Actually-
but maybe I'm wrong. Or I am
Here's
obviously
an
wrong.
idea of what. Here's an idea of what you could do, because on her cooldown covers she has 40% mitigation, so you could start with her magic one, and then when that's going to drop off, because it only has 4 out of 6 uptime, you could then double cast her physical cover cooldown for the mitigation buff, and then immediately...
she can't dual
her
cast those.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah.
Too
It was
bad.
going to be so good.
He had this
Not
great
everyone
plan.
is a Sisu, alright? Not everyone is Sisu.
She does also have 25% typed physical and magic mitigation, which is just like
Yeah,
Lucas.
for the whole team.
So
And she has quite a bit of
Trust as
barriers.
well.
Someone called her the Sylvia of tanks, which I thought was hilarious because Muspel pulled for her.
But I want to say, okay. So she is a bit worse than Sacred Shield Charlotte, and the gap kind of grows as you start adding high defense spirit buffs because their base stats differ a bit when we were talking about magical EHP. But she's still decent as a or I'm not even going to say decent. I'm going to say she's good as a magic tank because she's not that far behind Charlotte when we're looking at like 130% buffs. Then she's
very far behind Charlotte if you consider Charlotte's 50% mitigation to be important, which I think most people would.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But if you don't like if you do have a way of bringing 50% mitigation, which is relatively common nowadays at least, or there are several units that do it well, then I was talking to we were talking in the chat yesterday about this, and I still think that Hallowed Charlotte would be a great unit for a new player that has holes in their tank roster, because they're actually going to get a absolute top tier physical tank and a magical tank that's still strong enough to take on every trial, basically.
That said, though, everyone is going to have a top tier magic tank available next month for free in the 13.2 Lightning. So, like, if you need a magic tank, pulling for Charlotte isn't really a great idea.
I don't think
No,
anyone
that's true.
really believes that Hallowed Aegis Charlotte is a bad unit. She's good. It's just that she's not pushing power creep. She's not the next must-have tank. She's
Would
just
she have
a
been-
good one.
Would she have been a lot better if you had swapped the physical cover for magic cover on her limit burst?
I think she would have
Probably
been better
not.
if she didn't have the cover on her LB, because it defeats the purpose of her being a dual tank. Like
Yeah.
True.
the original Charlotte having cover on her LB is really good because it's just for turn economy, right? You want to LB and then you want to refresh your cover. It's so good. But the thing is, this Charlotte is supposed to be, if you look at her kit, a dual tank. But then on her LB, they focus on one thing. Now, if you look at her stats, they obviously focus on the physical aspect of it as well. But it just seems a bit weird to do that with her kit like that, I guess.
But I was missing a Bosch for a long time, though, because I really enjoyed Bosch back. Because the whole dual tanking thing actually worked. But and there were some interesting trials where I actually had to swap covers like mid-fight. I never used those strats, but it was really cool that they were there.
Yeah, I've done that several times. It's pretty awesome.
I think one of the thing about Charlotte is that she's a really good tank, I agree, but one of the things for new players is that they're gonna be missing the event-limited passive provoke items.
Oh, yeah, true.
So Charlotte only has 50% innate provoke. And for a physical tank, that's much more important than a magical tank. So I think because she's missing that, just by that, I would say Galuf or AWOL is probably better in terms of passive.
Oh, AWOL has more than 50? I didn't know that.
AWOL has 80.
Yeah, he has
AWOL
80.
is
Yeah.
one of the only 4 units in the game with more than 50%.
Oh, okay.
It's what? Galuf, AWOL, White Knight Noel, and like Kenny Crow?
Yeah.
Yes.
From memory?
Oh, yes, Kenny Crow.
The meta of all metas.
And that's the thing, Kenny Crow exists, so you can't really promote people to get a 7-star, I think, because Kenny Crow is there.
Just for provoking.
Yeah.
But I mean, unless you are like one of those players who missed out on the new login rewards, because like Gami just revamped the login rewards for new players too, so they actually can get a new 7-star AWOL straight out of the bat if they log in every day when they just started out. So they don't actually have the pool for Charlotte.
Yeah, plus, AWOL has a much better sprite than Charlotte. As much as I love Charlotte, she's an Esper unit.
Yeah, that hug, oh my goodness.
The giant hands. You can catch these hands.
Depends on what you're into, you know?
No, Bharos, no.
Well, I was just talking about, like,
No.
if you're into big hugs.
The Bharos train just won't stop today.
I will stop it.
It's y'all that are perverts, okay?
And
Yes.
there's
You
no-
train us too
Because
well,
I'm the one
Bharos.
that introed the podcast talking about putting the one ring on my penis.
I didn't talk about my penis. I specifically talked about Frodo's penis.
Oh,
And
so
speaking
that's
of Frodo's
That's not
penis, like,
better.
what do you think is the average size of the Hobbit penis, really?
So,
Make it stop.
there was another unit on this banner. And that's all there is to say.
That might have a Hobbit penis.
No!
Fuck's sake.
Okay,
Okay,
so
but yes,
stop.
there is... Now to the second unit on the banner. Before we start, I want to ask a question like, why Shiva?
Well,
Because
ice.
Lasswell is associated with ice, like
Yeah.
very,
Ice boy.
very consistently.
And Alum is dumb.
Yeah.
I
But
like
he's-
Jin's example better.
He's another CG unit, though, so there's that.
Yeah. My question is, why dragon killers? Shiva doesn't deserve any innate killers.
Yeah, Shiva doesn't have a single killer. Why dragon?
Yeah.
And
I don't know.
I also want to say that his LB animation outside of the CG is also really, like, not great. Like, he turns into this rose and then does a slashing attack. It's like very much 4-star LB-esque.
Well, the actual unit does big damage, but he's another one of those like AT chainers that need to stack a few of his other moves together, and then he gets
Yeah,
burst
he-
out, just like the other
He
AT.
juggles a lot of skills like a circus performer, but his actual durations and stuff do actually line up
Yeah.
reasonably well in terms of keeping things up.
They kind of fixed him a lot compared to JP in terms of his rotation. Well, not a lot, but
Yeah.
enough to say that he doesn't do like bad damage.
He's cohesive, and right now he's sitting just at the top of the chainer pile with like a slight window between the next ones. So like you would maybe say that he's like an alright one to go for, except the fact that his dad arrives next week and is going to kick his ass.
And if we didn't know that, I think even then we wouldn't recommend. It's not an appreciable difference over like Tifa either. So it's
No, Tifa, Ed, Gilgamesh.
He does have a
They're all
little bit of
pretty
utility,
close.
which is nice. Like, he's got an AoE re-raise thing that it spends his whole LB gauge to do it, and it only lasts one turn. But it's a nice option to have,
It's useful.
Something.
and he can do some ailment resistance for the party. But he's one of those damage dealers
It's
where if
nothing
you need a damage
significant.
dealer, he's fine. But really, you can skip him,
Unless they're
especially
new.
with Reagan coming.
Unless there's someone who really loves Lasswell, then yes, go ham for him. Go ham.
Like an illustration.
What?
I don't know how to say
We are not
her
name
name.
dropping anyone here.
But no, we're not allowed to talk about Reagan yet because he's still spooky unofficial data.
Oh no, I was talking about Lasswell.
He's pullable.
Well, okay, I pulled on Lasswell, by the way, but that's because I'm a Lasswell fanboy. So.
Really? I didn't think those existed.
The secrets come out.
Well, Shadow and I were talking about before the podcast. The reason I don't like Lasswell is because he has like 6 different moves that stack different modifiers, and it's just annoying to keep track of that stuff. To me, just put the modifiers all in the passive stuff. Stop making me do active buffs all the time. Like, I don't want to deal with the rotations of that kind of nonsense.
Yeah, I have a question.
It's like a cooldown you use anyway, and then like one chain that applies mod buffs to other stuff.
So if the rotation's simple, then why bother putting the mod buffs on that? Why not just give it a passive?
I mean, his rotation isn't really about juggling mod buffs, it's about juggling his imperil and stuff, which is honestly not that much juggling, you just use it on cooldown. Like, he uses a bunch of different skills, but 90% of that is just using cooldowns when they're up.
I think he's getting like an unfair reputation, kind of like Xeno did on release, when everyone was like, oh my god, this kit is so advanced, I need a PhD in theoretical physics to actually understand it. And the
Xeno's kit actually is more complicated than themselves, to be fair.
No, it isn't. It isn't. Like, Xeno uses stuff on cooldown. Yeah, he just uses stuff on cooldown. It's like so easy.
But that's the thing with AT chain. It's like if your cooldown's up, you use it. That's good. But what happens is that in the case that you die, in the case that you forgot to put up a mitigation, in the case that you weren't good enough to keep track of something, it's nigh impossible to come. Well, I don't want to say impossible, but it takes longer to come back for these AT chainers to get back, because you have to wait for that cooldown to get back, versus other chainers who don't need to have that.
Yeah, but I mean, that's true for any stacking chainer though. Like, I mean, it doesn't have to be about cooldowns. It can just be about. I mean, Madame Adele has the same problem. She has both. No. She actually doesn't have a stacking. She only has cooldowns. But there are people that have both.
It's not even really much of a matter of stacking. Like, he doesn't have any like stacking mods. It's really just about like a buff cooldown that unlocks a multicast, which is incredibly common.
So about Xeno, real quick. If you're a person who hasn't looked at the wiki, who hasn't looked at Dream's rotation that's been provided to them, and you look at that kit, there are 6 Mirror of Equity moves. 6 of them.
No, that is true. Yeah.
The naming of these abilities is awful. I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, why do they do this? Like, is this a Japanese thing that I just don't understand?
Yes,
I feel like it's a Dragon Ball Z
thing. It's an anime thing.
Yeah, like in Dragon Ball Z, everything's a fucking Kamehameha, except you name it slightly different. So.
Kaminami-ha, Kaminami-he, Kaminami-ho.
Kaminami-ho, that's the one I'm gonna use.
Oh god.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
God just came in. Whew, man.
This destroyed everything.
That sounds like what the dwarves say when they go Super Saiyan.
Okay. Oh my god.
Alright, now I'm thinking of Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs all going Super Saiyan.
Okay, but I've never, like, I watched some Japanese animation, and I've never, like, seen where they call every move the fucking same thing. Okay, I haven't watched Dragon Ball Z, but
it's a shonen anime thing. People will have attacks.
Okay, listen, shonen anime is like my favorite genre. I watched all shonen anime. I haven't still seen this.
Really? You haven't seen like One Piece where the main character has 60 moves that all start with Gum?
Oh shit, yeah, I haven't seen. I mean, I saw the first 100 episodes of One Piece, decided it was trash, and never watched it again.
I haven't watched One Piece, but I know that much about it. It's...
Oh, did you guys see there's a new ad out in the last 2 weeks for a game called Bleach, where it's a literal weeb as the main character? It's like...
What? It is?
Wait, really?
What?
Oh, he's like he's a white dude with kind of reddish hair that has a katana. And
that's the main character.
Has Hazard ever watched anime? I don't think he has.
Wait. You're talking about Ichigo, aren't you? Wait.
Yes, he is.
Hold on.
You know, the main character of the show Bleach.
It's a literal weeb as the main character.
I mean, like, that's the anime protagonist.
I think it's more that weebs try to pretend to be anime protagonists. Not the other way around.
How did we get to this?
Welcome to the anime exclusive podcast.
Because Lasswell has weeb naming moves.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It's Lasswell to Xeno to Bleach.
But okay, going back to Lasswell. So one thing that we
Actually, no. Before you start, Bharos, I need to ask Shadow a question. Do you pull for less because of Lasswell, or do you pull because of Shiva?
Lasswell, for sure. I'll show you my box. It's just I didn't get Lasswell. I used all my remaining tickets. Didn't get Lasswell, but I have every single Lasswell STMRs. Like every single, starting from Dracula Lasswell until like Chair Lasswell.
Oh shit! You even have Drac Lasswell's STMR? That's dedication.
I mean,
I have 0 Lasswell STMRs.
Yeah, I'm working towards my first one because I'm gonna have the Fire Ice Lasswell STMR any day now if my EX pulls keep fucking me over.
Hey, it's better than the, 13 Rams or 12 Noctises?
Noctis and Rem have great STMRs, though.
I have 14 Icos, so all of you go suck it.
Oh, I'm sorry for your loss, Bharos. Icos
Wait,
STMR
14.
is
Yeah,
trash.
that's true, because I have 3 STMRs and... No, 13. I have 3 STMRs and 1 Ico.
Also, thanks for the invitation, but no thanks.
But listen. Okay, so now, can I do my thing now?
No.
I'm
Depends
really
on what your
afraid
thing
of
is.
letting Bharos do anything.
No, this is actually decent, okay? I'm not going to talk about Hobbit penises or anything like that, okay?
You just
You
talked
already
about
messed
it again.
Okay, listen. So remember, like, this chainer that came out a while ago called Madame Adele, and it's one of those that people were super hyped for, and we've kind of entered into this very rapid, very linear, I'm gonna say. So it's very pleasantly smooth, but rapid power growth curve, because now, like, looking at, like, everyone keeps beating everyone else every banner, which is not as usual as it used to be. Yeah, a linear curve. Fuck you, Hazard.
I thought Hazard is a lawyer, not a mathematician.
Well, he just paid attention in high school math, guys.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's also weird because I actually have a master's in computer science and theoretical physics, and yeah, I'm ashamed of myself right now.
I'm a terrible math magician, and even I knew that you can't have a linear
okay.
curve.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna blame that English is not my primary language. Anyway, do you guys have you you're seeing it, right? We're really getting into this steep curve now.
It's steady.
But okay, so I want to touch upon this because for since like April, I've kept a separate side of the sheet to keep track of unit release dates and their DPT, and keeping track of standard deviation, average, and the next highest DPT based on their release date. And they have been super steady. Like, they've been following like a completely good guide on how to do this. So I feel like the whole rescheduling of like 2 siege units per month, that was all planned chaos, believe it or not. And it's maybe it's giving Gumi too much credit. I don't know, but it's very smooth in the sense that I think they thought this through, and that's a hot take that Gumi thought this one through.
Yeah, and I think I know why. Because, like, you remember in one of the problems they had in JP for a while was that people were hoarding UOCs, and just hoarding in general, of course, but UOCs as well. So they introduced Fest so that UOCs wouldn't be as powerful. And this way of power creeping really takes out the whole hoarding for this OP unit mentality. You don't remember the memes like hoard for Axstar, hoard for Hyo, etc., right? But
you mean hoard for Adele, pull for Adele, and then watch as the next unit that comes out just completely screws over.
But that's my entire point. Like that type of hoarding doesn't work anymore. I mean, you should hoard for a unit you like now, because like that it's going to be slightly power crept. There is no we're going to release this unit and it's going to be OP for 6 months. It's rather that we're going to release this unit, like let's say Zidane, and yeah, he's going to be really strong for 6 months. You're going to be able to clear all trials with him, but he's definitely going to be crept next week. So,
I mean, in general, we have seen like this historically happen a lot between, like, as a major difference between GL and JP and how they manage their release schedule. JP sort of has multiple times done a strategy of a spike and then filling out a plateau for a while and then repeating, while GL does much more of a steady increasing curve.
Well, at least lately.
In terms
I guess the
DPS
last one
power.
was Xeno, right? Like that was the last.
It's happened in past. Yeah, like other than Esther and Xeno, it's like been pretty consistent.
Then we had like
that.
Freyevia, and she was also like top dog for a very long time.
But her damage wasn't so much over Orlando at the time. It was just
No, it wasn't.
It's slightly, but it wasn't like
Yeah.
It's just that bosses at that time had lower spirit though. That's why she was really good.
Yeah, but also like after her release, we didn't get a chainer that performed better until like I think Titus, and Titus
we
only
did.
performed better due to his Imperil.
I
So
think you're overestimating the amount of time between those.
Yeah.
maybe. I mean, I remember I used Freyavia for a very, very long time, but of course maybe it wasn't because she was top dog all
Yeah,
the
they were
time.
usable for a long time.
But I think one of the things that happened then was that I did for sure didn't pull on DPS as much as I did now. And it's purely because I had an Orlando and I literally stuck with him for a year, and I didn't feel the need to pull anything new. Maybe because the trials weren't as hard with a DPS. I always felt like I needed a better healer or a tank. I never felt like I needed a better DPS at the time.
Yeah, it's weird because I feel the exact opposite right now. Because right now I'm really feeling that pulling for new DPS doesn't make a huge difference. Like you should pull for the unit you like, whereas the support units are more important than ever. But maybe that's just my Cecil absence that's speaking. But yeah.
No, the support, we do have some good support units coming up on the horizon. Like there's Pone
Pone.
or whatever
Yeah,
she's going to be called in GL.
We've been over this a bunch.
Yeah. No. I mean, but I like it. I actually don't think this is bad because the whole plateau thing, where they did the spike in the plateau, kind of promoted this weird behavior where either you had to have this chainer or you're dead in the water. And I like this much more. Like it's all the latest chainers are
It
decent.
stifled a lot of variety.
Well, really, the only time we had a true plateau like that was with Kurasame, which was something that most people didn't care about because they didn't want to use Kurasame.
Yeah.
But aside from
Yeah.
that, like Hyo came out, and then we got units that were stronger than him. I think within a month.
I mean, technically, with like if you included fixed dice at the time, he wasn't even the strongest.
Yeah.
But
Well, if you
fixed
included
dice
STMRs,
is
I think he
fixed
still
dice.
was.
Yeah, probably like Bahamut tier.
Yeah. I mean, again,
Still.
if you don't count Kurasame.
Yeah, but to be fair, that was
yeah,
also
they
the
would-
hype about Hyo. It was like the JP hype was if you take a Hyo, you put Bahamut tier on him, he's actually going
Yeah.
to be viable for a long time.
Yeah, but
and that was still
nobody
true.
in GL realized that.
Yeah. People were just pulling for
Nobody in
Hyo.
GL wanted to pull for Bahamut tier because it was a god awful banner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
It
but-
still was when it came back.
Yep. Never trust you. They're deceitful.
But the thing with the Powercreep is that because our damage is now so high, you wonder how they are going to buff some of the older units we're missing, like Cloud of Darkness and Elnef. Like
If
their
we're
damage
getting
is
them.
way lower. Yeah.
I mean,
get
you're
it.
assuming we're going to get them, but I mean, they are not really popular units, so not sure.
I feel like you're also forgetting another unit that's also definitely coming, which is Gibranth. How are they going to buff him?
Yeah.
I honestly feel like by this point, Elnath, Cloud of Darkness, Gabrant, they're all just JP exclusive units because
I mean,
Didn't Cloud of Darkness come with like a raid and a trial?
yes, it was.
And then where Elnef came with a story event. Like Gabrand was actually replaced by Zagabath on his banner,
Yeah,
but
he was-
the overall event still came.
Poor Dream.
I mean, it happens every
Sorry.
week.
Tried to talk like 5
Yeah.
times already.
But yeah, like Gebranth is a bit of a different case because it's just that one unit substitution and not like skipping an entire event, especially when Elnas 1 has like some lower rarity units on it as well that would be being skipped. So they haven't done much like that before, and I'm not certain whether they will, but it is starting to seem more likely that a few of those might have been
Yeah,
skipped.
because Elnath's story
I think
event
there's, like,
was
4
supposed to
total.
be before this story event.
Oh, shit.
It was supposed to be before Nickel and Sakura.
So it's like
They've shuffled story events before, though.
Yeah, they don't have to be in
I
order.
think-
But think about how much cooler
Yeah.
the next 9 months would be if instead of releasing Esper units, they released one of the bosses from every single Chamber of Arms.
you really hate
that's
the
the
Elnath.
thing.
Yes.
It's so good.
I think they wanted to do that. I mean, that was obviously what they tried with Elnath. I'm like fairly sure that's what they tried. Banner didn't perform well, so they didn't.
Yeah, because they made him a weak lightning chainer, and then they're like, "Well, I guess no one wants these." And I really feel like we've had this entire conversation before. We're already running out of
Yeah,
content.
no, but
So
it is
we're just
true.
like Gumi.
I think that we should expect that Gumi is a lot more harsh going forward with cutting stuff that didn't work in JP. Like and reordering stuff so it comes into a better order. I think
Well,
that's just going to start happening. more.
As we've shown, people like Shadow Walker will pull for their 19th Lasswell over anything else.
Hey.
Yeah. So anniversary is going to be dual Esper units, 2
Oh my
Espers
gosh.
per unit. So it's going to be like
Oh, God.
Lasswell, Shiva, and
I will quit. I will quit
No,
the game
it'll-
if that happens.
No, it'll be Sea Card Golem and Ignacio and Titan.
But actually, wouldn't Anniversary be the Fan Festa unit since we already have the Esper units now?
Who knows?
There's still 3 more to go that we know of, but they're quite a bit
So
later.
speaking of actual, real new content from Gumi, we did get finally after several months a new Chamber of Vengeance boss, which is the Boogeyman Knights.
Gooligan.
Bogeyman,
Hooligan.
the Booger Man. I don't know.
A real masterpiece of naming.
And it comes with a carton banner.
The
No,
creepy
just kidding.
Boogeyman.
I would have loved it. It actually came with a carton banner.
Yeah, I actually might pull. I'm actually very tempted to pull for Carton. All right, same here.
See, Cotton would have pulled because of the DV thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
damn
I
it,
have a
yes.
Carton.
Rated.
I have an Omniprism, so I'm probably gonna Omniprism my carton when DV comes around. Like, let's be honest. But I still don't know who to pair him with. Like, who's another one cast AT chainer that's good?
AR.
Oh yeah, AR. Sorry, yeah, that's what I meant. Or actually, wait, carton can multicast his shit as long as it's the last cast, right?
No.
No, he can't
No, he
multicast
can't
his AR.
multicast that one.
Okay, so you need a single cast AR friend
Have you
to
heard of
chain
Esther?
with carton for DV.
Just use a
Esther.
support.
Yeah, but not turn 1.
Esther.
So you need so you're actually just gonna use a support chainer for that then, I guess, because there's really no one that's gonna get any serious damage out of a single
Or
AR
you just
cast.
slam him into an existing chain that won't break when you slot AR into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have Cloud now in that sense, but it would be nice to have Carton building a chain for Cloud.
Carton plus an AR-10 friend plus Cloud equals a very dead DV boss. Okay, on turn 1.
Yeah, it's you do Noctis, Zon, and then you do Carton, Cloud, and whatever else, and it just dies.
So this Chamber of Vengeance boss is nothing like Dark Vision,
Yeah.
but it does come with its own bugs, which is fun. And the MVP of this trial currently is Lottie, 3-star Lottie, because she can cast all 8 elements hybrid, so it's physical and magical, which means the boss will counterattack you 16 times and use up its entire AI, thus stunning it.
Huh.
Rainbow Whip.
Yeah,
Rainbow
so
Whip works
for a bit
Yeah.
for a bit more context, currently it's bugged so that one of the boss skills that it uses when below 60% crashes your game. So your strategies are either kill it from above 60% with Carton or
With
AC
what?
Cloud, or
Kill it with
Carton.
Carton or AC Cloud.
Carton.
Yes, I will take Carton and use her to kill the trial.
No, I thought you said
Oi!
cum, as in, jizz.
No, Bharos, no!
God damn it, Bharos.
Bharos, get your
Okay,
mind
I
out of
can't
the
be the
gutter
only
this
one that heard
week.
that. I can't be the only
You-
one that heard
yes,
that. I
you
was-
You are.
You are.
No.
You are.
No.
This is strike
Yes.
2. Strike 2.
Why bring it up?
Strike
That's only 2?
Strike 10.
That's true. You're out of here.
The other option is that because he does a counter for each element you hit him with, both physical and magical, so you just hit him with hybrid every element each turn, and yeah, as I think Shadow said, maybe I wasn't
Wow.
paying attention.
I
Said
wonder why
it
none
uses
of
up
us were
all
paying
his
attention,
actions.
alright? I wonder why.
I said it before Bharos is... Yeah.
My air.
I'm shaking my head in real life.
So you all are thinking this is a bug. But this is obviously not a bug. This is the next level of trial Powercreep. This is a really punishing boss run in Dark Souls where you also have 5 to 7 minutes of just running to the boss every time you die. This is the same thing. You accidentally get that skill, well, you need to restart the fight.
This is kind of actually in Doctor Strange, it's like the Dormammu encounter. Takes 26 turns. You just do Lottie's LB every turn and then slowly whittle down the boss unless you've got great magic chainers. I don't, so it took me 26 turns with Agent Olive, who is terrible. Just terrible.
I used a true double hand Edward. Oh yeah, The evasion.
Yes.
Oh god.
For all
damn
you
it.
evasion lovers, the boss has 20% evasion, and just wait for the next Chamber of Vengeance boss. It's going to have 100% evasion, and so you can only use TDH units on that boss. On this boss, you can get away with TDW, but it's a lot harder because you'll mess up your chains.
Yeah, it's like, do you want your just chains to fucking not work at all?
And so he also has the evasion from turn 1, actually, right? Because I've seen chains break on turn 1 as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's like so we haven't talked about this yet, but if you have certain units, you can OTK the boss and like skip every mechanic on it.
Cough, cloud, cough.
Yeah, I've seen people do it with Carton too.
Except the preemptive damage.
So yes, you really need, what you really want is a dark chainer that is TDH, or a magic chainer that's dark. So if you pulled for any of the most recent magic dark chainers, you'll have one. If you're like me and haven't pulled for a magic chainer in a long time, your best is like CG Legs.
I thought CG Legs was still good.
I would like to have CG Legs.
She's fine,
this.
But the problem is
I do not have an option.
Right, I have no one else but CG Legs, so I have no one to pair her with.
Oh, okay.
There are zero
zero
dark chainers that do CWA other than Legs and like Shantoto, Xyrus. Yeah, I
My
don't have any of those.
off-banner Bahamut Fina, 7-star Bahamut Fina.
All of them. Yeah, Bahamut Fiend is possibly actually one of the best ones for this because I think she has 100% innate Undead Killer, and Undead Killer is actually one of the really hard ones to gear for.
And the fact that her dark chain doesn't require any stacking, you just actually need to unlock it and then she's ready to go.
So Cotton's luck wins again. That's the lesson here.
But one of the things I always like to do when we get these vengeful trials is try to find a team comp that can actually farm it, where you can just switch out 1 or 2 units. But it was actually impossible for me this time. Well, not impossible, so I did it, but the unit you have to swap out has like very strict restrictions on it. Like it either has to be an imbuer, dark imbuer and imperiler in one, or it has to be a breaker that can get high enough spirit to survive the nuke. And then I could like do the whole rotation. Yeah, and then I could do like the whole rotation. And we didn't even talk about the preemptive, because the boss fucks you over with a preemptive attack that hits really hard on your spirit as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my 4-man team was Lottie, Sylvie, Agent Olive, and Mastermind Zahn. So Lottie does her LB, Sylvie does breaks, 50%, element resist. She takes the first hit by passive provoking, and she can get tanky enough to survive it without any other assistance. And then Zahn just chains dark with your chainer.
Not a bad comp actually, but it's gonna take like 2 days.
Like mine's technically 3-man because it's basically Chin, Cecil, and Edward just chaining, and then Cecil takes the preemptive, and then you just need anyone with Rainbow Whip.
See, I don't
or
have
Lottie
Rainbow
can be a 4th
Whip.
slot. Yeah, but Lottie can be the 4th slot instead, and then just the 5th is scalable. But yeah, it is a slow and
The
painful.
problem with Lottie is she has to be 3-star because you need her LB to cost 12 crystals only. She only has 2 materia slots as a result. So you also need to build her for 50% element resist across the board.
Or 30 if you have Chin.
I only need 30 with Chin.
Oh yeah.
Which is literally the only reason why I picked him. I was like, how can I minimize the amount of gearing annoyance here?
Yeah, I've been using Chin as well, and he's been really helpful. Just because
I probably
of the
should
elementals.
freeze him and enhance my chin then. I haven't started on the hooligan because I'm hopefully waiting until Gami actually fixes the damn thing.
Never-ending Hope might also be an option. His LB does every element, but it costs 27, so you would need to gear him for autofill and also get some good external LB fill stuff going on.
Yeah.
Turn 1 might be the main problem.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that like the OTK strat is just in general faster, even if you can only slot in 1 extra unit, because like that sounds like it's going to take forever.
So who's your 5-man team?
Yes, obviously the OTK is faster.
Mine.
Yes.
Yeah, Bharos.
Ah,
You're the
yes.
one who indicated.
So it's Zahn, Noctis, Elephim, 2 Clouds, and then 1 Imbuer Imperiler as the last unit. So 2 Clouds chain their LB, Noctis finishes on it, and Zahn copies Noctis's buffs to everyone, along with Elemental Mirror on the Imbuer Imperiler, so that everyone also gets Dark Element. That's
nice.
basically it.
Okay.
Do you guys hear that? It sounds like whale calls.
Jesus. What?
Yes, it is.
Oh.
I mean,
but
this only works because of Noctis's killers, I think.
Yeah.
And if you have Noctis, this is a really viable strategy.
Well, here's
but you
here's
also
my thing.
need Cloud.
All right, assuming they fix the 60% crash your game bug, I'm not really sure how I'm going to do this trial because I don't have the relevant magic chainers. I guess I could just swap out my 2 units and take 26 turns every single time, but I don't think I have the patience for that kind of reward.
There's a secret strat that I use for these bosses, which is I don't bother with clearing all the missions on the highest difficulty.
Because it's like there's an emblem at the end. That's about it. That's all you're getting at.
Yeah, there's some STMR tickets.
Yeah.
I mean, bragging rights, and everything.
You get 4 super
it's a
trust
date
removal
week.
tickets and some pots and nothing else if you go past 6 units.
Is it really only 4? That's awful.
5.
Yeah.
You're at
No,
5.
you get the first ticket at 5 units.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, that's true.
So I mean, like if you're at 95 STMR tickets and you really, really want that Van STMR, then you're gonna be doing them.
That's a very specific case.
Are you at 96 SCMR tickets, Bharos?
You could also just wait a couple more weeks and get them from other less painful
Yeah,
sources.
I guess we are getting. That's actually a very pleasant surprise for me, though. We're getting a lot of STMR tickets. I like that. I think I am at 120 now again, and it's super nice. Like I can just wait for Van, or whenever some other unit catches my fancy, I can just STMR it. It's nice.
Regarding what Bharos said earlier, in terms of he thinks, what was it, that this is a feature, the 16 response.
Yeah, painful boss run. This is a painful Dark Souls
I
boss
actually
run.
kind of agree with this. I remember some people were complaining about the AI, why are we exploiting it like this stupid? But I think this is actually a really smart way to increase power creep in terms of trials, because it forces you to use a very specific type of unit or units. Like you could theoretically use Kryla in another slot, or I think there was Elena. People did it with Elena because Elena has this one move with specific weapons that she can do all 8 elements in the hybrid move. But anyways, it makes you think to use up a slot, and then that leaves you with effectively 4 slots to defeat the boss. So I thought that was clever.
Yeah, I think it is a cool alternate strategy, and I like the idea of that sort of AI manipulation. So yeah, I definitely think that's should be a feature and part of the fight. Obviously, the crash thing they should just fix ASAP.
I'm gonna put on my tinfoil hat and say,
Do you ever take it
hey,
off?
what if it is? Because you know what happened to Sinzar's mega thread when this event was released? Yeah, it was only AC Clouds in there, as well as a couple of cartons. So it's everyone else. It's kind of like DV. Everyone else is looking at that list and going I wish I had 2 AC Clouds so I could actually OTK this boss and get the rewards. So I think it's promoting this. Hey, you should pull for these strong units.
I mean,
No, I do not think a crash bug is intentional.
I mean,
let's see.
I'm not going to go that far.
I mean, devil's advocate here. If you look at the actual AI, you do notice that it is a bit more haphazard than usual. There's a lot of obsolete values that actually don't do anything, but it's just there in the AI.
That
so
could just be a product of
yeah.
coronavirus going on. They don't have their QA testers in the studio or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you also have to think that this was probably... I mean, you remember that we were supposed to get a Vengeful Trial around, just after Halloween last year, and it was actually, promised, next month. So I'm kind of thinking this was started back then, and then someone had to haphazardly finish
the
it now.
Halloween units have stat bonuses, and it's the Halloween event boss.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is
I'm absolutely sure this was started in November last year, never finished, and then someone had to, finish it in a week. And they just did, kind of. Yeah. And there's a bug that someone introduced to get people to pull. I'm still sticking to that.
I mean, I think that's a bit of a stretch, but
It's not even a bit of a stretch. It's just
but-
wrong.
It's
It's funny.
not
though.
as wrong as what you said at the start of the episode,
Oh.
but it's close.
It's
Okay,
almost
now
as long,
you're
okay?
reminding everyone about Hobbit penises, okay? Not me.
No, Barrows, no.
I think
I want this episode
I think
to be
the
over.
MVP of this trial was me taking my own units, because it's really hard to find any CG Dark Finas that's been geared for this. So I just took my own Cyrus and my own Finas and
Wait.
called it a day.
How did you get the game to not crash?
I've never had that bug before. I've never had that issue on my phone where the game crashes if I take my own unit. I take my
So
unit.
Shadow was a hacker.
Wait, no, I never had an issue with taking my own units either. Yeah.
Wait, there's a bug where you crash, you take your own units?
Yes.
I've never
What?
experienced it either.
I've never had that
I never
bug.
had it, yeah.
I've always had that bug.
I've always done the Vengeful with my own units. Like, because it's the fastest way to do it.
To be honest, I've never even tried to take a 6th unit of my own.
Can you? I didn't think you could do it unless it was Chamber of the Vengeful.
You could do it in regular trials. I do it for trials all the time, just because it's hard to find.
Oh, I didn't even know you could do it for trials. Not like I have the capability to do it anyway.
Imagine having the whale gear for 2 DPS.
Well, I mean, you don't have to have whale gear, like, especially for Vengeful. It's really useful for Vengeful because you can bring 2 units.
But like, I'm meaning for Shadow, like doing it for regular trials.
Shadow's a mega whale.
Oi. I'm not blue or
It's
purple
true,
on the
isn't
Discord
it?
server.
Yeah,
so
but
I'm not
we've
a
stopped
mega
giving
whale.
those out, okay?
The pot calls the kettle black, and other news at 7.
Well, we also have another event this week, which is Item World, and it's a special item world where you can get special rares, apparently, on these Esper unit items.
As well as a bunch of worthless stuff from the Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, I looked at those rares and I was like, whoa, those look really good. And then I remembered that the items are unit specific.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, oh wow, 30% resistances to all elements on a sword? This is amazing. And then, yeah, fuck you.
Yeah. Also, Gumi released a really nice news item later, after it came up, saying some rares were missing from Item World, but we fixed that now.
Oh, so it's fixed now. Nice.
Well,
I can start running Item
they
World.
say that, but a couple of the whales in our Discord channel had spent like 3,000 lapis on refreshes at that point without getting a rare, and they were pretty pissed. And I say, you know what? It serves you right for spending lapis on Item World because
Refreshes.
no one should ever do it.
That. But also, they did say compensation will be
I mean,
discussed.
if I was ever going to spend refreshes on anything, it would actually be for Item World because I really want to get some of those rares in, though.
I'm actually surprised people are running out of item orbs because I still have like 500
What?
of them.
I have 0. Don't you use them?
We do, but
No, seldom.
Imagine having the time to run
it
Item
takes
World
so
that
long
much.
to burn all your Item World orbs, especially with the refills.
I had like 200 something, and then I tried to get rares on all of my STMR guns, and that took all of them.
Yeah, I mean, like that's usually what happens. You get this one weapon you want to get like near perfect, and it's going to take a lot of runs.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the AC Clouds STMR was one of the ones that was missing a rare because that's the one they were spending 3,000 lapis trying to refresh doing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just waiting for them to fix it, and then I'm gonna get in and really try to get my Cloud STMR to great levels. Which brings us to the next point. So, what is great levels in Item World, Muspel?
So I posted a thread on Reddit about this a month or two ago. I forget exactly when.
Oh yeah, that's the thread where you were all wrong. I remember.
So I would argue that when you're taking items through Item World, HP should typically be your first priority, even when you're talking about DPS weapons, unless it's something that you're planning to like only use in dark visions or something. And the reason for that is because almost every trial these days makes you gear for some level of effective health to survive AoEs and whatnot. So people are thinking of it as, I'll get all my attack from my weapons, and then I'll gear for HP afterwards on my materia or whatever. But you need that HP all the time. So, and getting it from your weapons has a lower, like, you're pretty much trading HP for attack at a 1-to-1 basis. On materia, you usually get it at a much worse exchange rate. So it's better to get it from your weapons than it is from other stuff.
I will say a notable exception to that is gun users because the gun rare is pretty nice, and there's also a few different things that give you insane amounts of percentage attack for guns. So I would say if you can easily cap your attack with, if you're a gun user, like Phasalis or even Adele and some others, I would say that might be a notable exception because the rare is so good on guns.
Definitely take the rare.
You almost
for
always
guns.
still
I'm
want
not
the
saying
rare.
take like 5% HP or 40% attack, but if you have the choice between like 10% HP and 10% attack, I would usually take the HP, even if it's like, I usually consider HP to be worth like 10 to 20% more than attack.
And that's
I mean,
also because
actually-
like the cap on HP is higher than attack for most DPS units. Well, it's not higher; it's just that they don't have innate attacks.
You're not going to
gonna
reach it.
So it's always worth more value. In the meanwhile, there is a significant chance that your unit has already reached the attack percentage cap just from other slots.
Well, another thing to consider is even if you don't reach the attack percentage cap, like, who cares? Like, all the units that you're using for trials are power crept, like have power crept the trial itself. So it's.
I think people focus too much on capping attack. They think of it as some kind of inflection point where if you cap attack, your damage suddenly spikes up, and that's not true. The last 20 or 30% attack isn't worth any more than the previous bit. It's just not. There's no reason to focus so much on getting to the cap. You just want to maximize your damage.
Yeah, killers first, obviously, but
yeah.
Okay, Bharos wants to add something, but I think we shouldn't let Bharos talk because we have learned not to let Bharos talk earlier today, right?
So I just want to start by saying thank you all for these really insightful comments. They are very useful. I also want to remind our listeners that you should only ever run Item World for electronic dick and nothing else, because that's the only thing that matters in your friend list, and that's the only thing that's going to make you feel good. More HP? Like, what the fuck, Muspel? Who wants HP on their DPS units? Like, we're not gearing tanks.
Do you know how awesome of a flex it is to have your damage dealer with higher effective health than a tank?
No, because I've never had that.
Yeah, but that's using
For
a
the
cheap
record.
DPS.
Before Bharos started talking, I said, if this is a penis comment, and I was right.
Okay, it was not an penis comment, it was an e-peen comment, which is not the same thing.
Okay, moving on from
It's related
Bharos,
enough.
I actually should say that I disagree with Muspel because I think that if for most of the weapons, if you get the rare, that is already enough HP for DPS. Because there are a
I
few
think it depends a lot on what trials you're looking at, because when you look at some of the harder ones, you really do need a lot more. Because, Venomous Vines is one of the more extreme examples, but for that you want so much HP. Or even you look at future trials, March of the Insects, Behemoth...
I'm not sure about much of the insects, Muspel, but for Venomous Vines, the easiest stretch is actually just let your DPS die the first turn. So you don't have to worry about that damage
Even
over
after
time.
that, you're still taking quite a beating from the AoE.
Right. Have you considered that if you make the boss dead, you won't take damage?
Exactly, Muspel.
Checkmate.
Like, this is such an easy equation. Checkmate, atheists. Like, you kill the boss with your insane Item World rolls, and then you don't have to care about survivability.
No, but there are also a lot of materials that give both attack and defensive stats, like even
There
Adventurous.
are, but
yeah.
the amount of HP you get at the expense of attack is not great. Usually, the best ones, like Roberto's STMR is the best, and that one gives 70% attack and 20% HP. Aside from that, you've got stuff where it's 40% attack, 20% HP. Usually it's a total of 60% split some way or other between attack and HP. Whereas...
checked TMR, actually. That's 20% HP, 50% attack, right?
If you use great swords, yeah. So 60, sometimes 70%. If you look at TMs and STMRs, you're usually getting 80% stats or more total. So you're losing total percent stats if you're trying to gear for both HP and attack via materia. But on weapons,
who
you're
does
just trading
that?
off at a one-to-one basis.
No, it's true. I've looked, and besides Roberta STMR, it's pretty slim pickings between 70 and 50 or 40 if you want any
Listen.
Yeah.
Listen, you
And
know
just-
who else put defensive stats on their kick-ass weapons in Item World? You know who else did
No,
that?
Bharos is not allowed to talk.
Adolf Hitler.
I was going to say it's Hitler. It's Hitler.
It is. Like 100% Hitler put HP on all his weapons in Item World. Okay?
I can read your mind. Before you say anything, I know exactly what you're going to say.
How do you survive in the
I should have killed you all last week when I had the chance.
You don't kill us all, Hazard. You just need to kill Bharos. Can we make sure that Bharos redacts every single one of his conversations when he edits it? Wait, damn it, he's
That's going to be
editing this
really
podcast.
weird, because that's just going to be like a long series of bleeps for me for this entire episode.
We're just going to remove your entire track from the entire thing.
Yeah, it's just
Yep,
going to be like
that's a
some
good idea.
awkward silences here and there, and it's fine.
It's been a trying week. So, yes, conclusion here for EPing.
Yes. 100%.
HP E-pin is also E-pin. Just saying.
No. It's not even close.
Is it HPing? And that's as close as I'll get to a penis choke, so let's move on.
You know what we need in Item World? We need more evasion rares, right? So we can get even more evasion on like all of our units, especially for the Behemoth trial.
No, actually, an invasion rare would be something unique, though.
I mean, it's still building on this incredibly negative trend, but yes, I actually think that getting like evasion on daggers would be a decent thing instead of fucking who needs High Tide.
I'd like to complain about the fact that the fire and ice two-handed weapons have special item world rares that gives fire and ice resistance, because bosses that use those elements are usually immune to them.
Yeah, it's completely useless. You really want it for the 20%
It's not
stat.
completely useless, but it's very close to it.
I mean, it's very thematic at least.
Still, it's another option for like a
Right, that's
20%
what you're really
attack.
going for. You know,
Yeah.
they really took it literally when you wanted to fight fire with fire.
It should have given resistance to the opposite element.
That would make too much sense.
Fire keeps you warm.
What dream?
Did Dream really just say that?
Yes.
I expected more out of you, but
Oh my gosh.
You can hear me just shaking my
I've
head.
been steadily losing brain power over this
we
episode.
don't blame you.
Yeah, just think about how our listeners are feeling at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've probably stopped listening a long time ago. Let's stop kidding ourselves.
There's no hope for us.
No, there really isn't.
Yeah, turns out each episode just has a completely separate block of people that listen to it, and then they never listen
Yeah,
to
and that's
another
actually
episode
pretty
again.
impressive. Like, we're getting like some steady listens, but just like with totally new people every week.
Dang it, Bharos.
But once we get rid of Bharos, we'll finally start getting recurring listeners.
Maybe, actually, maybe. That is a good idea.
And that's a great way of like growing the user base, getting rid of me, and then just hoping for the best.
I mean, the math checks out, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't tempt me with a good time, Bharos.
So
right.
tune in next week. I won't be here, I promise, and you'll have a better time.
Well, no.
Oh?
Well, no. Next week, Muspel won't be here, so Bharos will take Muspel's spot.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely be advocating HP on my item world items.
There's
Yeah.
there's a 1-to-1 swap if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, we're basically twin brothers.
Oh, boy.
And I mean, literally, since I am a Muspel alt, it's yeah.
I thought
makes
we're
sense.
all Muspel alts.
Well, we are.
Yeah, we established that in
Also, Muspel, I'm really impressed of your like female Asian accent you can do. Like, it's incredible.
Stop tooting your own horn.
What? Tooting whose horn?
Oh gosh.
You know, complimenting
okay.
yourself.
All right. Well, Bharos is going into further quarantine, and we'll see you guys all next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye,
I promise
everybody.
I won't be as bad next week.
Bye.
Don't make
That's what you
promises you can't
always
keep.
say.
God.
Yeah, also, I'm not pulling until NV. Just putting that out there.
All right, Rudy.
Right.
Good night.
Until we get a limited ban.
Cloud.
Yeah.